Nearly 2 weeks after being dismissed, hundreds of workers at the drainage unit have finally received their green papers entitling them to unemployment benefits. This after meeting with top government officials at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre, including Prime Minister Frundle Stewart. Peter Thorne reports.
From early this morning, hundreds of workers at the drainage unit started gathering at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre with the hope of retaining their jobs. However, those hopes weren't realized as they collected their green papers entitling them to receive unemployment benefits. They were an orderly group as they made their way into the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre, with many expressing fears about their future after being dismissed on December 31st. Prime Minister Frundle Stewart and several of his ministers spoke to the workers once they were inside the centre. The Prime Minister told the workers he was far from amused at the way they were dismissed.
I really felt I needed to express my regret to the workers that the matter was handled as untidily as it was in fact handled. But of course, I gave the explanation and they understood. And of course, then I had to explain to them what their rights were in the context of persons who would now not be employed in the program to which they were attached for the last 5 years. They're entitled to unemployment benefits and so on.
Prime Minister Stewart is hoping that the National Environment Enhancement Program can be revived in the future with the adequate funding, including substantial assistance from the private sector.
We hope to get things put in a kind of shape that will not involve putting the public finances under the kind of pressure that those finances have been under in recent times, but can still achieve the objectives of the National Environment Enhancement Program.
Several of the 392 workers from the National Environment Enhancement Program that have been sent home share their thoughts about the meeting and their future with reporters.
Well, it's hard for me because I'm a single mother. I have 2 children, plus other things I did along when I was working to make my life happy. So I have those to still deal with any day. So life must go on, but I hope it feels best. I will get back my work, yippee, and it'll be good.
I don't even know about the unemployment, the national insurance, so they never know when they can pay with unemployment. So we don't know, you understand, we don't know what's going to happen. Children go to feed, bills go to pay, you don't know.
I'm a mother with 3 sons. But it gave me hard, but life have to go on.
What happened in the meeting to your satisfaction?
Well, all we could just came here to hear if it was taking me back or not. But it ain't looking that way. But I hope it feels best. That's all I here to do, just wait and hope and pray for the best.
The laying off of the workers from the drainage unit is the latest development by government as it moves to meet the January 15th to March 1st time frame to lay off over 3,000 workers. This as it tries to reduce its deficit of $500 million in a depressed economy. Peter Thorne, CBC News.
The minibus driver involved in yesterday's deadly bus collision at Eagle Hall, St. Michael, has been remanded to Her Majesty's Prison at Dodds until February the 7th. 37-year-old Kelvin Hall of Early Tenantry, Hines Hill, St. Michael, appeared in the District B Magistrates Court at Bordet Hall today before Magistrate Graveney Bannister. He is facing charges of dangerous driving, driving without due care and attention, driving without reasonable consideration, and failing to comply with traffic lights. It is in connection with a collision involving the minibus he was driving and a Transport Board bus, which resulted in the death of George Blackman of Hearts Gap, Christchurch. More than 30 other people were injured. A preliminary inquiry into that accident has also been set for the 8th of April at District F in St. Joseph. Hall's counsel Anthony Worrell, in his submission today, argued that the accused be granted bail with conditions. He suggested that the minibus driver wanted to prove his innocence and wouldn't try to flee prosecution. In any case, he says, Hall has never been a holder of a passport and had strong ties to the island. However, police prosecutor Rudy Pilgrim noted that bail should be withheld because of the serious nature of the charges and eyewitnesses claim that Hall, who had 71 previous traffic convictions, deliberately ran the red light. Well, Trimart's flagship flagship supermarket at Haggett Hall, St. Michael is being relocated in a move that will leave more than 100 workers temporarily unemployed. However, a new supermarket will be replacing Trimart in a few months. More now in this report from Ryan Broom.
Over 100 employees of Trimart's flagship Haggett Hall supermarket will be temporarily unemployed as it relocates to a new home. However, owners of Sky Mall, which presently houses Trimart, are promising that a new supermarket will open in the space in a few months. Trimart's parent company, Anson McCall Barbados Limited, announced today that it is reinvesting millions of dollars by building a world-class supermarket at one of its properties. However, Anson McCall says it first has to complete the approval process before announcing further details of the new location and when it will be up and running. In a press statement, Anson McCall CEO and President Nicholas Moutet says Trimart must vacate the Sky Mall location by the end of February and all employees will be temporarily displaced in the interim. He says it is expected that many of them will be rehired when the new state-of-the-art supermarket reopens. The company will be offering career counseling and retooling sessions to those employees who may wish to move on before that happens. Meanwhile, one of the owners of the Sky Mall property, Ralph Busy Williams, spoke to CBC News and he says they will be welcoming a new supermarket to the mall when Trimart leaves. He says the new supermarket will also bring with it new employment opportunities.
We have negotiated with a superior supermarket to replace them, and we're adding more shops and more office space to the mall, and that will be delivered shortly after they depart. So the number of people that will be employed here will actually increase after they have left, and the quality of the offerings will be improved.
Mr. Williams has declined to disclose the name of the new supermarket at this time, but he says it will feature an additional shopping level and it will also offer automotive and hardware products. Ryan Broom, CBC News.
Fires recorded for January 2014 have already outstripped the numbers registered for the same period last year. According to the latest statistics from the Barbados Fire Service, there were 22 fires recorded in January 2013, 2 of them commercial and 2 house fires. This year, firefighters have responded to 30 blazes, 1 commercial, 1 categorized as other structure, and 4 house fires. These homes were all in densely populated areas, which then affected nearby homes with radiated heat and water damage. Of the over 2,000 fires recorded in 2013, there were 80 house fires and 22 blazes at commercial buildings. Police and fire officials continue to actively investigate the causes of those incidents. Well, in related news, a call is now being made for buildings and businesses to have proper escape routes as a precautionary measure. It's the view of the Chief Executive Officer of the Small Business Association, Lynette Holder. And she told CBC News that business owners need to be more fire conscious.
When the alarm sounds, leave immediately by the nearest exit. Now, this brings home the point about the adequacy of appropriate and proper exits in some of our buildings, and we think that there is now a need, an urgent need, in light of all that has happened in the past. I'm sure that some persons can easily remember that tragedy a few Septembers ago when so many young lives were lost. The fact is, we still have too many buildings that do not have the appropriate exits for not only customers, but also employees.
Ms. Holder also says that proper signage is important so that customers can feel safe and that staff benefit from regular fire drills.
Making sure that we had equipment in place, for example, fire extinguishers, and the training for our staff to be able to use such extinguishers. One of the other things that has been very important for us is these signs that we've posted across the length and breadth of the office, because the association has to be mindful of not only our staff, but our members who would come into the secretariat, and also our wider customer base.
A man who walked with monarchs without losing the common touch. That's how former Democratic Labour Party Government Minister Cyril Walker was remembered during a service at the St. George Parish Church. Delivering the eulogy was Besley Maycock, who said despite Walker's imposing stature and voice, he was a gentle soul.
I believe that the amalgam of his varied experiences was the ideal preparation for the sterling service he was able to render to Barbados and Barbadians in public life. There are two characteristics that I particularly admired in Sir. First of all, he was true to himself, and he was very comfortable in his own skin. I saw him interacting with staff, with students, with parents, with teachers, with political colleagues, as well as opponents, and with the monarch. And if an onlooker could see him only, and not the person with whom he was dealing, it would have been impossible to determine whether it was Queen or commoner.
Former MP for St. George North Cyril Walker was laid to rest today, with Prime Minister Frundle Stewart and other top officials joining family and friends to bid a final farewell. Cyril Walker, may he rest in peace. Tonight, we put the spotlight on a top local secondary school. Queen's College has announced plans to place national development at the forefront of its education package. Shane Seeley has this exclusive.
At the start of a new school term and a new year, Queen's College is about to roll out its new 5-year strategic plan. What the school wants to do between 2015 and 2020 is produce highly skilled and qualified students to fill the void in Barbados' professional services sector and other key industries driving economic growth. Principal Dr. David Brown gave CBC News some insight into the plan, where science and technology will feature prominently.
We will be paying attention to that, and we will be having our students in the vanguard of the preparation for higher education, which will translate into economic development and such like. So education is not just coming here to be educated. It has a focus. The school has a focus and a purpose. I like to believe that as leader, I set the tone in that. I pass it on to the students. And our students go out there, achieve the skills and such like to tie to the economic development and create wealth and such like.
Now Queen's College, under Mr. Brown's leadership, has been tracking all students leaving sixth form.
All of our students attended, who left sixth form school, attended a higher institution of learning, whether it is the Polytechnic, University of West Indies or further field. So we achieved that strategic focus.
Looking back at the 2009 to 2014 strategic plan, Dr. Brown says there are some objectives that have not been completed, but overall, it's been a success.
We did achieve a lot of our objectives in terms of the human resource, curriculum and such like. We did not, because of the recession, achieve a lot of what we want to do in terms of the plan. That is refurbishing the school and such like. But we achieve a lot in the transformation from the perception of being a purely academic school to one that is doing well in sports and extracurricular activities. So I would say that that's our success.
Shane Seeley, CBC News.
The Queen Elizabeth Hospital will not deviate from utilizing four-wheel ambulances on the roads of Barbados. That's the word from medical consultant at the QEH, Dr. David Beyer. There has been much criticism recently after the island received a gift of 13 three-wheel ambulances from the United Arab Emirates. Dr. Beyer says the task now is to determine how those vehicles can be utilized.
They're there, and we'll try to find some function as best we can for them, but I don't think certainly that they will be implemented as mainstream ambulances to replace what you normally see on our roads and what were utilized yesterday, because they do not have the capacity in terms of space and function to do that.
Dr. Beyer expects the response of the emergency ambulance service will be greatly boosted once the new ambulances arrive on the island soon.
Currently, unfortunately, we have one ambulance and one utility response vehicle, which basically we're utilizing as an ambulance which are functioning. But as I said before, we are utilizing the private ambulance services to good effect in terms of supplementing that. Hopefully, next month, this time, that this will be a mute conversation whereby we'll have our fleet supplemented up to 6 ambulances and stuff, and we'll be able to function effectively as an emergency response service on our own, except in special situations where you would require the excess numbers.
The Animal Control Center will not be an easy way out for dog owners hoping to get rid of their pets. Animal Control Officer Curtis Thompson claims he's flooded with calls daily from Barbadians seeking to have their dogs killed. He says the center realized more than a decade ago that canine owners were taking advantage of that option and thus enforced a screening process. The ACC says they would induce the death of a dog only if it is considered aggressive after a complete assessment is made. The number of deaths stood at 5,000 per year before the screening process was implemented and has declined every year since. The Animal Control Center killed 828 dogs last year.